Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. There are a lot of questions that founders have, startup owners have when kicking off a business. At what part should I be doing branding? At what time should I start to think around my visuals, my packaging? There are even like a lot of definitions of branding to different people. For some, it's like when they have started having logo, patterns, colors, there are like a lot of thoughts on what branding is. But at what point should you be intentional about branding in terms of what branding actually is? I know I have a video that I've done on misconceptions about branding, which is going to be like a good place to start. But for today, I'm going to be focusing on what or how do you see branding as a founder that can help you achieve product market fit in a faster way, right? And that's what we're going to be discussing. My name is Okwayemi Olugwemera and you're welcome to my YouTube channel. Why is branding important? Why should you consider branding as a founder? I have always maintained that while a lot of people think that branding is the visuals, which is like the most popular like touch points that people have to understand branding, there are a lot more things around branding that you can put into consideration or that you can set in place before you even get to the visuals, which is also important to helping you to understand and fulfill the promises you want to make to your market. In that way, if you already get people who love you, who are ready to buy for you, I mean, that's like the layman definition to what product market fit is. People who are ready to buy, people who are ready to pay for your services, and people who can consistently look out for you in the myriad of options that we have in the market. Not just people liking the services you offer, but people liking you to be the one that offers that service to them. I mean, that's like the simple definition to what product market fit is. So how do you achieve that? How can branding help you achieve that? What sort of branding, what elements of branding will help you achieve this? That's going to be the crux of my conversation today. So what is branding in the context of this conversation? Branding is understanding how to get people to see you the way that you have seen yourself in a way that makes it more valuable to both parties. I think I just coined that definition. Maybe I should keep it. So what that means is that I see myself in an X way, people see me in an X way, but everybody has seen themselves the same way based on the picture that we have created and people have now come to accept in a way that brings value to everybody on the chain. So sometimes it's me, sometimes it's someone above me, sometimes it's someone by my side in terms of vertically, horizontally, right? So there are several relationships to this mix, but we want everybody to view that relationship in a way that is valuable to them. So every intentional effort that is put in the mix to ensure that this happens, that this person sees me as someone to do business with, that this person sees my product as a product to buy in a way that it is valuable to everybody is what branding is. So now, how is this not important at the start or launch of your business if you want to even launch a startup? So, but how do you approach this? How do you need to understand branding in a way that can be more meaningful and more valuable to you if you do not even have the budget to go in and do the whole logo and etc. and etc. I was giving an example in a podcast I was on a few weeks back that there are people who, like if for example, there is an akara seller on the junction of your house, right? Or on the junction of your estate who sells akara, right? And pap. And people always go there to enjoy their akara and pap. And most likely in the evening, there are like a lot of people within a certain demography who like to go there and have akara and pap. First, it is the pepper in the akara is in such a way that it is nicely done. It is otadia but kota too much. Too much. And there's a way the akara is, there's a way the pap is. People come there and have conversation. Even if that person does not have a logo, the fact that the person has or have like visuals, the fact that the person has like something that people come to expect, the fact that the person already has like a community of people who come to want to buy from them, the fact that the person already has a product, the fact that people already know her or him that is creating the akara and pap and will always come back for it means that the person have created a brand. So back to one of the things that I think is the first and most important part of building a brand or of employing someone who understands brand to work with you from the start of your company. The first and most important thing for you as a startup founder is to understand who you are in the context of your market. And market in this form does not even just mean the people who are buying from you. It's like around the different stakeholders. It's deciding to say that I am X. This is what I do. These are the values I have. It is establishing what your DNA is. And I mean, this is like the first part of the video when I spoke about what is brand strategy. I mean, so if you can watch that, you get a little bit more context on this. But it is very important that you understand who you are, more like your DNA, what you stand for, what every other thing you produce is going to be built on, right? I try as much as possible to use international brands so that I do not have like conflict around local brands in this conversation. But there is something you have at the back of your mind when you get an Apple device. And it's not just about the marketing. It's a lot about what you have come to expect from Apple based on their disposition to innovation, based on their disposition to product development. But there's something at the back that you now expect that any product that has their label should be XYZ. It's the same for some of the biggest brands you know in the world. So the first and most important part, which a lot of people ignore in the conversations around branding, is your brand strategy that helps to understand or that helps to crystallize what you are, who you are, what you stand for, your core values in a way that it is documented that any other person in the chain of your service delivery or product development is clear about what this company is. Sometimes how the company operates, the products the company ships out, the systems the company builds can begin to change or can change along the way as you begin to understand the market more. But usually there are some things that do not change: who you are. So your product changes over time. Your services may change over time. You may get to discover that you want to develop and do something else that can bring you good money. But in Fort Canvas, there's something I started sharing about and became a huge part of how we work. It is what I describe transferable excellence, which means that because people see that you are excellent in X, they can almost assume that if this person is doing Y, at least till you disappoint them, that you will be good in Y too, right? It's almost exactly the same thing, but in context, I mean, if people are clear about the quality of service that you offer, about the kind of person, kind of brand, core that you represent, like an IKEA, like a Bovas, it is easy for people to be able to know where you stand, and so they can even decide maybe your product is one that they can relate with. Because again, as we have described from the start of this conversation, product market fit is not just that the market is ready for you. It's that the market is ready for you to be the one to do the thing that they want. So I mean, there may be a lot of people who are offering banking, but how many people want to do banking with you? Right? So, and there are a lot of product decisions, a lot of things that can go into that, but there are also emotional elements that you need to build. And one of the start is knowing who you are and setting the standard. So as much as there are a lot of people that you have someone who is in charge of tech, you have, luckily for a lot of companies, they have a CEO who has this thing, understanding and clarifying message, an amazing storyteller as the one selling the company. So it's easy at the start. And so they may not even need to get someone who understands branding. But if you can afford it, get someone who understands branding from the start of your project and free your CEO to just be thinking about how to get the right funds or how to coordinate every of the talent on the team to build a great brand or build a great business or build a brand that is amazing, that is also successful in business. So the way someone is thinking about tech, the way someone is thinking about the business growth, the way someone is thinking about customer, let there be someone who is thinking about all these things from the perspective of how do we ensure that we are connecting with the people we have decided to serve. Again, because there's now that conversation on what if I have decided to serve X people and I discover that they are not the people for me? Who you are doesn't change. Maybe the people you are serving changes, right? So what do you now do? You try to understand and then communicate to them. One of the major reasons you even get to find or one of the elements that can help you decide if you're even finding your people or if you're even not serving the right people is that when people decide, people even need to know you for something for them to know if that you are the one to work with or not. Right? So that's why branding at the first is important. Even before you even get to say you want to do a logo or do a visual, right? That story, that anchor point, that big story is a very, very integral part of branding that a lot of people shy away from and just go to logo, pattern, visuals, website. Because in their head, they're like, we have gotten this one right. And they now get to realize that, your logo, visuals, and every other thing around that are supposed to communicate something. And if people see you and are excited about you but cannot connect what they feel to what they are seeing or experiencing, then they are not staying. So for a founder who is looking to achieve product market fit, one of the things you need to decide is decide who you are. Because when people are clear about who you are, they can now decide if they want to follow you or not. Right? Then the second thing you need to pay attention to is deliver. Right? Do your stuff. So even if you get to the point where you have to tweak your business to achieve product market fit, like in the context of the startup world, right? So you have to tweak your business process, redefine the product, relaunch in a certain way. One of the things people should be able to associate with you is that this person did the previous one excellently. This person promised X and achieved X. So if you constantly deliver, at the point where you need to tweak something, there would be a transfer of reputation from where you were to where you are currently. Before English scatter my head, right? Because it's very, very important for you to deliver. This is what you want to do. Just do it and do it well, because it's as important as that, right? Most of the times also, as a result of the fact that you are testing a lot of things, you may fail at some point. You may not get things right. You may, get things, but for someone who is paying attention to branding, for someone who is paying attention to the brand, you would understand that it is also important for you to carry the people you're serving along. So you're not just assuming that they would understand or assuming that they will know or assuming that tomorrow when I get it right and I'm not doing it excellently, they will forget the past. Not necessarily. Your ability to be able to manage expectation or manage the experiences of people along the road as you continue to grow in your excellence is a very, very amazing part of branding. It is knowing how to handle failure. It is knowing how to handle disappointment. Let me give you an example. I do not know if it's like a perfect example, but I think it works. Throughout the period of Elon trying to launch the reusable rockets to the moon, we were seeing the failures, but we were rooting for the success as a result of how the failure was communicated. Right? It is it is just an example of something that paints the picture of what is possible. I have a lot of conversation with my fintech friends, and I'm like, okay, you don't understand. I'm like, truly, I really do not understand. Maybe because I've not been involved in like active day to day, but I also understand a little bit around human psychology. That sometimes, in terms of how you relate with people, they can manage, or rather they can feel a certain way about a disappointment based on the way you have presented your solution in the first place. There's a brand that is suffering that so much now, and I cannot, yeah. So that's the second one. Deliver well. And if you're not delivering well, understand how to manage people's expectation, understand how to kind of like do that. And that is an important element of branding, right? Now you may say, that's supposed to be comms, but again, comms is an important element of branding. And sometimes you need someone who has an amazing eye for brands to be able to manage your comms. Sometimes you need someone who is amazing in brands to be able to manage your comms, right? That's one. Then the third one, which is going to be like where I anchor today, is that you also need to be able to understand how to take feedback and iterate on the go. When I mean iterate on the go, it means I usually tell people when I'm done creating a brand strategy document that your brand strategy document is living. More like as you continue to grow, you're iterating the document based on the understanding of the people you are serving. Right? It means that sometimes when you learn X, Y, Z, your how can change, but who you are doesn't necessarily change. But your how can change your who a bit, but there is a core that people should come to expect from you so that they do not begin to distrust you when you begin to express certain behaviors. But let me just go back to where I am so that I don't go again to number one. How do we have that conversation around taking feedback? Because most of the times we can get to see where people do not like, people just take feedback and consistently begin to change based on, so people say you should do X, you go and do X. People say you should do Y, you go and do Y, because again, you are taking feedback. That ability to get the meat of the expectation without necessarily morphing into something that you are not is a very integral part of branding, right? Let me put it this way. So the people were using horses as a medium of transportation, and it was time to get to use cars, right? There's a popular stuff that people associate with Ford that, I don't know, maybe he's the one that said it, that if we had asked people, they would have said they wanted faster horses. While I am not disputing where the saying comes from, right? But what I'm even saying here is the only reason why they would have asked for faster horses was because they needed more speed. And so someone decided to say, instead of faster horses, they picked the feedback of needing more speed, but decided to say, if we give them a car, it gives them more speed and it gives them convenience. That thinking, that ability to see what is not being said via what is being said is also something that you need someone who understands branding to be able to help you articulate. All right. So even before you get to the point, so again, I'm not even going to say that visuals is not important till you get to the point of your product, your PMF, right? I even still think visuals is important. You need to look a certain way, at least a certain way, for people to be able to form an opinion about you. I think this is also a little bit about the market that you're in, or the product that you're offering, or like the service that you're delivering. But I think you also need to look a certain way for people to even make an opinion if this is how they want to get this or not. Because if you are not even X, how do people know if X is what they want to relate to? Then you now find out that I can't be X to be able to serve these people. What I'm trying to say is, you have to even become someone for people to decide that they don't want you at all, or they want you in a certain way. So in itself, branding is an integral part of knowing how people want you so that you can now become that thing that people want you from the perspective of yourself. I am 100% on the side of your brand is not what people say it is. Your brand is who you say it is in the context of, or in a context that takes into consideration what people say it is. But the first part and most important part is deciding what or who you want to be, because that is even how you interact with the world and now find out what the world wants you to be like. And so you can now tweak. But you need to be yourself, and you need to be able to stand on what it is. And if you now need to progressively adjust based on a lot of things, you now need to intentionally engage and not just become something else because people say you are something else. And I hope this sounded technical in my head, but I hope for the people who this sounded a bit technical in my head, but again, I hope for the people who this is for, they get to understand. And I'm open to conversations. I'm open to chats. Possibly may drop an email, questions on what you think, if you're a founder, your experience around starting branding too early, starting branding before your PMF, how it happened, what you think should be done, what you think should not be done, and several other things around that. I mean, I'm open to having this conversation so we can get to the meat of what is possible. But I'm saying that, and which is like the crux of this call, you need to be something for people to even make a decision if this is how they want it or not. Thank you very, very much for watching to this point. I hope you have had an amazing time. Please, there's several other videos that can act as complementary videos to this conversation on my channel. I really want you to watch it. Like, subscribe, share, and let's get this conversation going. Hopefully, by the time I'm done with the series of my videos, I will be able to see how I can inspire a lot more ambitious brands out of the continent of Africa. Thank you very much. My name is Opeyemi Olugbemiro.